All right, let's talk about Patrick Peterson, the longtime Arizona Cardinal, who then played a couple of effective years for the Minnesota Vikings, now a Pittsburgh Steeler. What is he bringing to the Steelers? How good of a player is he still at this point in his career? Well, let's get into it. Let's start off with this play right here. I think this will do a good job of kind of really showcasing what he can do and kind of really what he still does at this point in his career, which is he is a very smart player. He's always been a smart player, but especially now that he's been in the league for a while, you can make an argument for him being the smartest cornerback in the NFL right now. And this is a very fascinating play because you have a receiver running a deep route, and while there are two safeties deep, it's sort of a cover six situation where really that kind of top quadrant of the field, that quadrant of the field, that's where, I don't know why I said it weird, that's where Patrick Peterson is going to be covering, and so, okay, that's the way this play is designed to work, almost just a straight up one-on-one matchup right here. Right when this play begins, you notice there's a little bit of space right here. Peterson is not turning his back and running as fast as he can to the other side of the field. He knows how far he can run, and that's something that I think a lot of older cornerbacks actually struggle with, is knowing how quick you can move and how far you can get in a limited time span. A lot of times you see corners, once they lose a step, which in my opinion Peterson has, he's not as fast as he used to be. Once you lose a step, then typically what happens is not just do you get worse because you're not quite as fast, but sometimes you get worse because you're still playing the way you played when you ran a 4-3, when now you run a 4-4, which is still, plenty of good cornerbacks run 4-4s, but sometimes, you just don't know how much space to give the corner. But for Peterson, he still has a very good understanding of it, and he understands also that it's zone coverage. He should be looking at the quarterback, and that's what he's going to be doing here. So when this throw is made, you see how he still is able to close that gap relatively quickly. If that's a bullet towards the back of the end zone, could that have maybe been a touchdown? Yeah, I think it could have been a touchdown potentially. But we're talking about basically making a mailbox throw with velocity that far down the field. That's just very rarely going to happen and not something you should be too concerned about. Make sure that you stop the plays that happen 99% of the time, not worry about stopping the plays that happen 0.1% of the time or something like that. I left out 0.9% in that analogy, but regardless, moving on. Not a math video here. This is a football video. Let's go on to this play right here. This is just going to be a simple play, but again, these are the kind of little things that do matter when it comes to cornerbacks tackling. It's something that people don't really pay attention to, but being able to avoid a block and make a tackle is something that's important. And you see where Peterson is on the screen. It's going to be a wide receiver screen. He's supposed to get blocked on this play, and he kind of does. Watch how you do see a receiver's in position, but then when the other defensive back kind of pushed the back out, Peterson was able to get over there and make a play. So again, not necessarily a highlight reel level play, but these are things that you look towards. Again, especially with veteran corners, one of the issues sometimes that happens is guys don't like getting hit anymore, which is understandable. You only have so many years left on your career. You don't want to, get a bad injury and have your career be over and cost you and your family potentially tens of millions of dollars, right? That's not something you want to do. But at the same time, if you're going to be on a football field, there are times when you have to make a play. There are times when you have to make a tackle, because if you don't do that, that's how those big screens can sometimes happen, those 50-yard screens. So it's something you have to pay attention to, but for Peterson, I would say is actually pretty good at that stuff, so I wouldn't be too concerned about it. Also, stuff like this, again, you're going to see sort of his, high IQ stuff happening here, where the way this play works is, so the Arizona Cardinals wide receiver is going to be running a route where he fakes as though he's going towards a sideline, but then eventually runs deep down the field. Right when this play begins, though, what you see is that Peterson is doing, I think, a great job at not biting in too hard. A lot of, young players, maybe even Peterson, 7 years ago, would have stepped in and would have made sure that he's covering the out route. But Peterson, like I said, he knows how far he can get quickly. He knows how much ground he can cover by the time it takes the ball to get there. So if it is an out route, Peterson knows he can jump the route and still get in position to knock the ball away. He knows where he's at on the field. So that's not to say don't ever run towards what appears to be a move, but he can take a half second on it still because he does know how much ground he can cover. So then when it ends up being a deep route, he's able to get his head turned around, get in position, and he, turned into really just 500 right there. And Peterson almost made the interception, but still made the play and got that one knocked away. Whereas, again, I think a lot of lesser, because that was a good route, I thought that was well ran, and a lot of lesser corners, I think, get beat in that situation. Luckily for Minnesota on that play, they did not have a lesser corner. And also just stuff like this too, where again, it's about making the correct read, right? That's really what it comes down to a lot of times, is how well do you do at just reading the play quickly. And so for Peterson, you see the receiver who he's lined up against. That's the guy who he could come in and make a play. You see where Peterson's zone is in this coverage. Watch how right when this play begins, really just look how quick he makes the read. Look at how quick he notices what the receiver is doing, and he's moving in and making the play. Again, these two plays back-to-back really kind of show the value that Peterson brings to a team. You first have him being a little patient when it was required, and then you have him being a little aggressive when it's required. That's kind of what he brings to the table, is he rarely gets himself out of position, and he helps himself a lot. And this is why there's been some speculation of, could he at some point in his career transition to safety and be an effective safety as opposed to just playing corner, where it does rely a bit more on speed, especially as he continues to get older. You assume would continue to get slower, but is also going to still be a very smart player and probably even get smarter, which still has a ton of value on the football field. Kyler, again, decides to make this throw anyway, and Peterson knocked that one away. And if he was, a little bit slower, a tenth of a second slower on getting that ball there, maybe that's a pick six. So got to be careful with Peterson there. And again, one thing that also I've shown in this video, but I haven't mentioned and highlighted, is his ball skills. You notice that every time he can seemingly get a hand on the ball, he does get a hand on the ball and knock it away and not let a receiver make the play. Now, if I want to talk about negatives, because he isn't a perfect player, he's still a very good player. I think he's a really good player, actually, but not a perfect player. And what are maybe some issues? Well, he can get beat on good moves. He can get beat on good moves and good routes, which every corner can, but that is a way you can beat him. It's going to be Isaiah Hodgins for the Giants, who's going to be going up one-on-one. It's going to essentially turn into a one-on-one matchup against Peterson. It's zone coverage, but that's basically what's going to eventually happen. And right when this play begins, you see that right here, okay, Hodgins has not made it clear which way he's going. Peterson ready to react as soon as he sees what's happening. But when the receiver cuts over the middle, there's a big enough gap. Peterson not quite able to close it quick enough. Maybe in Peterson's younger years, he sticks with him a little bit more and is able to make that play. But at the same time, okay, that's fine. I mean, he's still a very effective player, and yes, there are going to be examples where when a good player makes a good move on a good route, you can beat him. I'm sure Peterson is the only corner you can say that about, right? No, obviously, plenty of corners would get beat on that route. It was a good route. So yeah, those are kind of my thoughts on Peterson and what he brings to the Steelers. I think these will be the things he's able to do for Pittsburgh. Again, there's always the fear of, could he lose a step? There's always that fear when you sign an older corner. But at the same time, there's always fears of every corner. Corners are very fluky, and I'd rather the guy who I've seen be successful in multiple different systems, who the only issue of him is he's a bit older. Like that, to me, this is a better chance of taking, in my opinion, than maybe some other guys. So yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.